Please, Scott.
Resolved that the Village Board of Trustees, effective October 9, 2025, hereby appoints Kimberly Judd, Esquire, to serve as special counsel to the Planning Board at an hourly rate of $260 for the 2025 and 2026 fiscal year, replacing Alice Cooley, who generously served temporarily while the village conducted a search for the new attorney.
So I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second. Kim, would you like to come up and say a few words since you're here?
Just say hello, Kim. Sorry.
You just got to introduce yourself if you made the effort to be here.
Hi, Kimberly Judd. Know Eileen from working with her in the town of Southampton about 25 years ago. We worked in the town attorney's office. I worked in Southampton, not before this board, mostly before the town, for many years. Been out in Riverhead for the past 11 years. That's where I'm from. And I look forward to working with the planning board and meeting all of you. Nice people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Appreciate it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Kim, you got another assignment. Yeah, you just got confirmed.
Thanks, Kim.
All right. Now we have a board presentation from the 4th of July committee. This is an update on the 250th anniversary of the United States. So our 4th of July parade has to be bigger and better than ever before. And the president of the committee, Mark Epley, former mayor, will address us now. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor and Village Board. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to discuss next year's 4th of July parade. As you know, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. And we believe that next year's parade should be and will be one of the most fantastic patriotic events in Southampton Village's 100-plus years of hosting a parade. And the 4th of July will also be on a Saturday. So Saturday parades are always very crowded. So I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Susan Stanky, who's part of our committee, Lisa McWilliams, who's part of our committee, and Thea Fry, who's part of the committee too.
Welcome.
So we are in a rebranding phase for the parade. Braun Marketing has helped us with a special 250-year rebrand. So I'm going to give you guys stickers.
Look at that.
You can wear home and impress your loved ones. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you very much,
There
Mark.
you go. And Scott. And Chief. Historically managed by veterans and their families, last year we were faced with the real possibility of not having a parade. After the Southampton Press articles and meetings with the mayor and other community members, we tried to step away from the image of veterans running the parade and getting others involved. And I will tell you, we were very successful with that. We had a very positive outreach and an increase in the number of volunteers, and this also helps us in our rebranding of for the future. Long-term goals for our committee is to create the development of a 501c3 not-for-profit, which will fundraising arm for the parade. So the village will continue to host the parade, supported by a not-for-profit fundraising component to it. So in the short term, we have 4 asks. One is volunteers. And even though we had a wonderful turnout last year, there are still a few areas that we need additional support for. The second ask that we're going to ask the village to engage a consultant on a monthly basis to assist us in the flow of paperwork, application, outreach, and follow-ups and stuff. And that I'm asking for Thea Fry to be engaged by the village of Southampton at a $1,500 number a month is what third ask is more entertainment options for the parade. Now we have some very talented groups that come every year and participate, and we're very fortunate to have them. And because we have veterans, fire departments, EMS, Little League, community service organizations, hospital, farmers, and vintage vehicles, we would like to have more entertainment options to kind of break a lot of that stuff up. So that's what we're really looking to. So historically, We've reached out to all these people closer to the parade. Now we are very actively and aggressively trying to find participants to march in the 4th of July parade. So it's 250 years, so other towns are trying to catch us on that. So, and finally, a fundraising piece. So historically, the parade cost about between $50,000 and $55,000 a year to operate. These expenses involved entertainment. When I say entertainment, bands come. So sometimes they need housing, sometimes they need transportation costs, sometimes they need whatever. And so we help supplement that so that it's not personal, so they come in and do that. So operational costs like golf carts and radios and on and on and on. So advertising cost, food, we always supply food for people participating, sound systems to be able to do that. And so we raise about $50,000 to $55,000 a year is what we do. But that $55,000 not only supports the parade, but it also supports Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So we have a tendency to come up short every single year. And in Memorial Day and Veterans Day, the reason why it costs between $5,000 and $6,000 a year for each one of those events is sound systems and food and flowers and all the different things that we do. So this year we've set a goal at a minimum of $100,000, which would allow us to attract 4 or 5 additional entertainment participants at between $4,000 to $7,000, $8,000 each, and allow us to improve outreach to a website and social media. But I'm also excited because we've got a couple really cool things that are coming up here in the next few weeks. So one is a fundraiser at the Elks Club, which we have these really cool joining us on Monday, October 20th, from basically 5 till 7:30. You want to pass these around?
Thank you.
And the money there will be it's going to be pulled pork and chicken and some stuff, and it's a fundraiser for the parade. And we'd like people to come. And it's $30 beforehand, $35 at the door, and it would be greatly appreciated. So the second thing that I think is really cool that we just locked in was we've got the Southampton Playhouse has stepped up, and what they're doing is they're hosting a screening of the movie Glory, and after that will be a Q&A with Matthew Broderick, who will be there, who's the star of the film. So it's Saturday, November 8th at 1 p.m. And so they have about 160 tickets. We'd like to get people out to do that because 100% of the proceeds will go to support the 4th of July parade, which is fantastic. What they did is they actually had a movie they moved just to be able to do this for the community. So very excited about that. And then we're working with Shippey's and John Betts to offer some type of price fix meal at Shippey's there, and they'll make a donation to the parade. So what I'll say is that partnerships like the Southampton Playhouse, Shippey's, Elks Club, and with our continued long-term partnerships with groups like Sag Harbor Community Band, who plays every year, the Chamber of Commerce, all the service clubs, they're very important to not only the success at 250, but the success to 350 and on and on and on. And just as a reminder that this is a community's parade, and everybody loves a parade, as Lisa had sent out to us, and it's a day to celebrate. It's a day to celebrate 250 years, but the parade is not only will only be as good as we make it in this community. So what I'm saying is, let's get involved. Let's participate, let's donate, and I thank you guys for your time. So any questions to throw at me so I can defer to these guys?
And No, I'd just say thank you for these efforts, Mark, and for the whole team, the efforts you're making. And it's big shoes to fill because the veterans did do a lot of work on this, but I love the idea of making it a little even sort of broader and more permanent. So thanks for those efforts.
Thanks. I mean, I've been involved in the parade I got out of the Navy in 1992. So basically, I've been involved with the parade since then, and big fan of the Frankenbach family, and I find it's my honor to be able to do this, and it's our responsibility because it's, as they know, got passed down from their grandfather to their father to them, to passing it down. I'm passing it down to my kids, my grandchildren, and like it's our community. It's our responsibility to step up. It's our responsibility to give back, and and each one of you guys are giving back in your way because I know that job. I know what you get paid, and I know the hours around it all and stuff like that. And it's purely a labor of love for you guys. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. I did ask Mary Cummings to join as the newly minted, newly minted village historian. Mary, I don't know, did you want to add anything about the 4th of July or the 250th anniversary?
We've been talking about it for a long time, and we're
Need to come to the mic.
not quite sure what we're going to do, but
She has to come up.
aware.
All right. Well, Mary, I appreciate you being here. And you know, a lot of people don't realize that during the Revolutionary War, Southampton was occupied by the British, and they were. I think the command general was in the house right at North Main Street where their fork is. And so, unfortunately, at that time, while the Declaration of Independence had been done on the 4th of July, 1776, Southampton was not free until, I guess, 1783, when the British finally withdrew. But anyway, I think it's going to be a great year, and we're going to have to host lots of different things, and I really appreciate Mark stepping up and doing this.
Thanks. Well, it's just not me. It's a lot of people. And
It is.
And so we're very fortunate and stuff like that. And I will also tell you, did a great job on hiring a planning board attorney. She's very good. So,
Thank you, Mark.
And I was just going to say that I will work with the village attorney to for the next meeting to have, if the board concurs, have an appointment of an assistant here for the 4th of July in Thea Fry at the amount of $1,500 a month.
When were you thinking of starting that?
yesterday.
Okay, you can't do it retroactively. Yeah, we will work on that though. We will.
Okay.
The attorney will have something ready for the meeting on the 21st.
21st,
Yeah.
Thank you
All
guys
right.
for your
Thank you,
time.
Mark.
So, thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mary. All right. With that, now we'll go to public hearings. Eileen, do you want to go through the public hearings,
Sure.
please?
Number one, the first public hearing is a proposed local law amending zoning code chapter, this is the workforce housing.
Yeah, that's been
law.
opened, and we're just keeping it open
Correct, so we're
right
just
now.
reopening that. I think we're just going to keep it open. We'll listen to any comment anybody
Yes,
has
yes.
today, but we'll keep it open because the planning commission's going to weigh in on this.
Correct.
right?
So,
Okay. We've also made a couple of changes to it that are not up online yet. One is, so far, the draft has been amended to say 50/50. So 50% of the units would have to be affordable. There was one other change. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it, but.
Okay, but at this time, I'll make a motion to open this public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone in the public wish to speak on the affordable housing topic at this time? And you will have an opportunity with the Planning Commission on the 17th of this month at 3 o'clock in this room, if you'd like to come back and speak at that time as well. But I just want to make sure that if anyone wants to speak now, it's open to the public for their comments or input.
And Bill, presumably, any recommendations or thoughts that they make will come back in the form of either no change or other recommendations, so there'll be another chance back here at this board.
Absolutely, yeah. So at this point, hearing none, I will just keep this meeting or this hearing open. Again, moving it to November.
13th.
Yeah.
November 13th.
November 13th. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next public hearing.
The next one, okay, this is a notice of public hearing, or a public hearing to amend Chapter 62, the flood damage prevention of the Village Code of Southampton to comply with New York State law. This was the, it's not even a recommendation, it's a requirement from the New York State DEC. It brings us into compliance with state and federal law. We have a Chapter 62 on the books, also previously adopted to comply with state and federal law to address flooding when developing property. So all of the changes were highlighted in red on the law, and that's it. I don't know what else you want to.
Yeah, no, these
say
are
about it.
mandated by
DEC.
the state, and I believe they gave us a deadline of adopting this by November.
Right, that's right.
So we do have to act upon it because it could jeopardize insurance through the FEMA flood insurance program to those that take advantage of that program if we don't adopt this.
So just so you know, we did get a letter. The only
Yes.
public comment we've had so far was a letter from John Bennett's office complaining about the definition of the accessory structure. That's not our definition, and it's only a definition of accessory structure for use when addressing that particular code. So I don't think his concern is it would create.
His concerns seem to be that it would somehow conflict with our
Yeah.
definition of accessory
But
structure.
it clearly says accessory structure, this definition is for this code only. So I don't really anticipate it being a problem I know that the building inspector reviewed the code and was fine with it. So if there's actual confusion, we can always amend it later, but I don't think there will be.
Well, no, and you just adopted the language
Correct.
that's mandated by the state.
the state.
So we didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary.
Right.
So I will make a motion to open this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anyone like to come forward to speak about this change to the code, Chapter 62 on flood damage and prevention? Anyone? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. Well, then I will make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Last,
The next,
yeah, no, I'm
the
sorry.
next public hearing is a public hearing amending Chapter 110-43 of the Village Code by updating and amending Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions. I believe this is related to Culver Street.
Correct, and I see
So
we
the
have,
neighbor- Yeah, I think we're going to have people speaking on it.
Yeah.
People are unhappy with Uber and Lyft drivers hanging out in their cars there. We discussed how to address it and determined that the most, really the only way and the most effective way was to just make no parking in parts there, so.
yeah.
That's what
And
this
this was
proposes to
discussed
do.
also with the chief. Chief, I don't know if you want to say
Correct.
anything about this? I mean, you've been trying to keep them from lingering on that corner, but,
Yeah, I mean,
you know, they
it's
seem to
become a-
come back.
It's become a real problem, especially over the summer, and we just need something to kind of sink our teeth into. You know, we can go there and tell them to leave, but they really don't have to, so this would help us with enforcement efforts for that.
Correct.
Yeah, and it also says no stopping or standing, so
Correct.
they could not be just
Hanging out.
loitering in their
Right.
car at that location.
Correct. So, but just so you know, there was some public, communication and comment about suggesting that we make a rule that says Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, transportation network people can't stop, stand, or park there. But those laws would violate the state and federal constitution. So, and state law actually, 1604, I think. But
Okay, so thank you, Chief. At this time, I will open this public hearing on Chapter 110-43 for vehicles and traffic. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who would like to come forward and speak on this topic?
Can I just ask a quick
look, we've
clarification?
got Ann Yoni.
About how long are we considering making a no? About how large is the area? Can anyone just describe that?
It's 220. It's on the south side of Culver Street. This is what we're
220
adding, and it's 220 feet east from First Neck Lane.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so on Culver.
Hi,
Ann Yoni is recognized.
good evening. I'm Ann Yanni. I live on Culver Street. I've dealt with this all summer. I'm not at the end of First Neck Lane. I'm in the middle of it. The Lyft drivers and the Uber drivers are extremely rude. You ask them a question, and I don't want to tell you what they do back to me. For example, they're parked on the street with their feet hanging out of the vehicles. They have no respect for the yards. They have their beach chairs. They make themselves a picnic. That's not right in this village. We shouldn't be subjected to it, neither should anyone else. None of you gentlemen live on a street where you're subjected to the Uber and the Lyft drivers. You know, they're extremely rude. My husband takes care of the front of our property. It took him 30 minutes on more than one occasion to clean up the mess that they leave behind them, be it cigarettes, wrappers, plates, napkins, cups. They just toss it out the window. That's not fair to us. We clean it up, and we're asking for you to give us some consideration. Personally, the no parking on Culver Street, maybe at the very beginning of First Neck Lane where they make the turn. I sent Sue some pictures where you couldn't even make the turn. You took 5 or 6 parking spots on the north end by Pond Lane. You took that away. We need parking in this village, and to take more parking spots away, I don't agree with that. I think you guys should come up with a solution, take one of the village parking lots and make that a designation for the Lyft Uber drivers to park at. And with the help of the village police, I think they have to be told they can't park on Culver Street. Sometimes they're there almost all day, and they're taking parking away from the village businesses who are on Hill Street. These people need to have a place to park, and they just take the spot, and if they don't get a call, they're there all day. I don't know what the ruling is. I understand East Hampton and the town of Southampton had a ruling where you could only park for so long, and if you park longer than that, then maybe a few parking tickets by the village police would resolve the problem. But I think more importantly, take a spot in the village and make that the Uber lot parking and the Lyft parking. And that may eliminate all of the problems, just not for our street, but for the other streets around. And you guys are don't have any problems with parking. We do, and we're looking for your help to resolve this for next season. This past weekend, I know the park was busy, but there were tons of Uber drivers sitting on the street. And, you know, there's just no respect. And especially when you drive by, me as a resident, but we have visitors, when you see people with their feet hanging out of the vehicles, that doesn't say much for Southampton Village. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ann. So I would just say that we did designate an area at the train station for ride app drivers where they can congregate. The problem is, though, if we have nothing at all on Culver Street, there's nothing we can do to prevent them from coming right back there. That's the issue. So we're trying to help you on the street by eliminating them only for the first 220 feet in from First Neck, which is where they seem to
Then
congregate.
they're just going to come down and park in front of my house like they do now. If you eliminate the parking at the beginning, they're just going to move themselves down. You have to come up with a solution.
We've been looking at this, Ann. I don't know.
You
I'd
know,
like to hear from our village attorney
you
and
know,
also the chief if they think there's a better way to handle
It's only going to move
this.
it down the street, and that's going to take parking away from the people who work on Hill Street. So that's not a solution of no parking. Something has to be done to designate, like you did at the train station, to designate one of the parking lots, or maybe Pond Lane, and make that a designated area for Lyft and Uber drivers.
The problem is there's nothing that will compel them to only park there, Ann. They can go wherever they want.
Well, then maybe it should be a 15-minute parking sign that they can only park for 15 minutes.
That would
And-
mean everybody can only park for 15
Well,
minutes.
what you're doing now by putting no parking is it's going to eliminate the landscapers and everybody else who need the work from parking on Culver Street, or they're going to be moving down and they're not going to be able to park and do the work.
Well, and you said there was a problem, though, especially on the corner when you make the
corner-
turn, and so this is actually going to eliminate that issue.
Yeah, but that goes to the first driveway. You make the turn,
Yeah.
and the first driveway, that's fine, no parking. But the rest of the street, you're taking more parking spots away. We just lost them on the north side of Culver Street. Pretty soon, Culver Street's not going to be
Well,
any parking
I was
at
asked
all.
by several of your neighbors to eliminate the parking on the north side of Culver Street at Pond Lane
Which was
because
great.
it was too narrow.
Which was great.
So you're
That was-
agreeing with that?
I absolutely
Okay.
agree with that, because you had people parking on one side, you had people parking on the other, you had people going this way. You couldn't get around the corner.
Correct.
That was wonderful.
Correct.
But I think to eliminate some parking spots other than past the first driveway, it doesn't make sense, because they're just going to move down the street.
All right, well, again, I'd like to hear from the chief if you've got any other ideas on how we should handle this problem, because I don't think there's much else we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
The only way to handle the problem is to institute either no parking, no stopping, no standing, or 1 hour parking, but it can't be selective. If you're gonna do 15 minutes or an hour parking, it's for everybody, which means if you have people at your house and they're there for a party, they're gonna get a ticket. I mean, it's a fine line. It's either one way or the other. There's nothing in the middle that's gonna have an easy solution for
And
everybody.
it's correct,
legal-
Eileen, that we
legally,
cannot
correct.
single out specific people who can park or
Correct.
not park.
Correct. It would violate state and federal law
Right.
to do that.
All right, thank you, chief. Would anyone else like to speak on this topic? Sure, sir, please come forward.
I just want to remind the speakers tonight that we each have 3 minutes, and I'll let you know at 2:30 when you're coming close to it.
I'll be quick. Hi, Dave Cardali,
Yeah.
village resident that live on Hill Street. I was going to speak on this, but before I came, I just typed up some notes. With the code of Town of North Hempstead and East Hampton, the Town of North Hempstead incorporates.
Okay,
has-
I'm not going
yeah,
to cut you off. You
yeah.
can say what you want, but just because another municipality does
Right.
something illegal doesn't mean we're going to do it.
So has it been contested? Has it been
There's
litigated?
so much case law in there that you can't single out. So,
Pay for hire cars cannot be singled out as no parking.
right, you cannot exercise your police powers in a manner inconsistent with the Constitution or a general law of the state of New York. And Vehicle and Traffic Law Section 1604 gives us that police power, and you specifically can't do this.
I thought the village is allowed to control the streets, so you can issue any types of standing or restrictions on the streets.
But they have to
No,
be
but they have
applicable
to
to
be
everybody. You
applicable to
cannot
everybody.
single out a specific class.
Unless there is some authority in the state law to do it, that's for starters. And even if the state did it, they have to do it in a manner that is not, addresses the constitutional concern. So you'd have to establish a legitimate state interest in making different rules. So all the comments I've heard so far would not do that. So there's no difference if I'm sitting on Culver Street waiting to go pick my kid up at the high school, or an Uber driver is sitting there waiting to go pick somebody up. So there's no substantive difference in the two of us.
But you are allowed to restrict commercial traffic, such as trucks and weight limits. That's clearly in the VTL.
That
Yeah,
is in
that's
the
correct.
VTL. Yes,
That's correct.
that's one of the ones. Truck routes is
If-
in there.
And weights, but you
Weights
can't-
in there.
And the weights.
Ice cream trucks in there. Selling ice cream from a truck
But
is
not
in there.
livery. You're saying they can't be affected.
Correct.
Pay for hire.
Not that I
Okay,
could
then
find.
I'm
So
mistaken. Okay, I don't know. 'Cause I
So,
thought
yeah.
And
I'm
and
happy to
most of
consider it if
those,
someone shows me where it's
Uber
allowed.
drivers are driving their own vehicles, and they are not designated commercial. They're
Like
just
TNC, they call
they're
them,
just-
yeah, pay for hire.
yeah, but it doesn't even say TNC on it. On their license plate, it does not say TNC.
Right.
No.
And just so you know, you can't even make rules that say on a public street that says parking by resident permit only. Those are clearly illegal. Cannot do that unless there is some state statute authorizing it. So you'll see a lot of state statutes. City of Albany, City of Binghamton, they go get state legislation and explain the issue, and then they can do it. But otherwise, we cannot do it. And there's tons of case law.
I'll take a look. I agree
Sure.
with the woman. I think they're just going to go somewhere else. I mean, I'm on Hill Street. I've seen them occasionally, but I didn't know how bad it was until I heard this gentleman at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And then we drove by, and every day, at the end of the summer, we saw them.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
every
The
day.
chief is. We've all seen
And
them.
late at night,
Yeah, yeah,
And then I didn't believe the whole picnic thing, but then I saw it.
yep, yep.
So, yeah, they're going to go somewhere else, but I don't know, I mean, it's a start, I guess, but I wish there was a way.
I mean, they are free to go sit in the parking lot here. I don't understand why they wouldn't just sit in the parking lot, but they seem to like your corner.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Sir, please come forward.
Thank you. Cameron Smalls, I'm at 62 Culver. Thanks for your attention to this matter, and thank you for your service. We've called the police a number of times for people sleeping and barbecuing and making noise on the street too many times to count. And just like Ann, every time I get home, I spend the first 15 minutes of my day picking up cigarette butts and trash. So there's clearly a problem here. Look, I think we should think about what happens if we do nothing. And I can tell you the answer is next summer is going to be way worse. This summer, there were days where pretty much the entire street was full of these Uber drivers, and Culver's always been used as a place where residents can park, the people who work in the Hill Street complex, people taking their kids to the playground at Agawam Park, where I go with my daughter pretty much every weekend. We're fine with that. We've always been fine with that. We'll always be fine with that. This is a real problem. It's pretty new, and it sounds like we're choosing between a few different bad options. Nothing's perfect. But I think if we do nothing, it's just going to be worse. So if we do this, the question is, okay, where do they go? And like you said, they're going to go somewhere else. If we do this, keep in mind that the north side of Culver, they can still park there. I do empathize with Ann that they're going to move down further toward Pond Lane. However, a lot of those spots are taken up. People go into the cultural center. The end of that street is commercial. There's the Home Nature store there, so people shopping there. The north side is almost all commercial. There's only 2 residences on the north side of Culver. There are 10 on the south side. So I do think there is still room for residents to park if they need it. In my experience, the only times those spots are taken at the corner of First Neck down through about the middle of Culver, the only times is by the Uber drivers, unless it's the Marathon or Southampton Fest, where there's a lot of people coming to the village. So that is the hot spot, and it's for 3 reasons. It's cool, it's close, it's convenient. So we have trees in my yard. There's trees on First Neck. They park under those so they can turn off their engine and save gas.
Yeah.
That's number one. It's close, so the algorithm works where if they're closer to the village, they'll get more fares. And it's convenient, meaning there's always a place for them to park at that corner. If we take that away, that makes a difference.
Yeah. I'm surprised, actually, that they don't park in the diagonal parking on the west side of First Neck Lane. That's always open. And I mean, literally, it's no more than 70 feet from where they are parking on Culver Hill. But I don't know why they wouldn't just sit in a designated diagonal parking space on First Neck Lane. But for some reason, they really like your street.
They love it. And look, I've talked to them a lot.
Yeah.
some contentious and some a little bit more friendly. And some of the friendlier conversations, and some of these drivers who do park where you say they should park, also talk to the other Uber drivers and say, hey, guys, you're creating a real problem here. You should park over here. And some do it and some don't. Some say that the cell service, for some reason, is better right there.
Well, that'll
Okay.
change.
That'll change next summer.
Right? And maybe there is some sort of algorithm hack where that's exactly where they need to be, because west of there they can get the fares, and east of there they can get the fares. But that
I see
really
what you're
seems to be
saying.
where they want to be. But I really do empathize with other residents, especially with Ann, with other people further down the street. The last thing we want is to put them in front of somebody else's home. But I do believe that something has to be done. Doing nothing here is just not an option.
Yeah. Are you the second house in from First Neck?
Well, we're technically the first house on Culver because
No, I know, because the other house on the corner.
yeah, that's
But so
54.
basically, what this law is doing is it's making no parking, standing, stopping for 220 feet, which I believe covers actually to the far end of your property.
I believe-
So it
I
would be
believe they are.
basically in front of your house and the house that's on the corner. And that's where we're looking at doing this right now. Again, if we have to revisit this situation next summer, we'll revisit it again. But I tend to agree with you that we have to do something, because it's just a problem that's going to only get worse if we don't do anything.
Great. My other question was revisitation. So if this creates an undue burden on anyone else on Culver Street, especially Ann, I really want to revisit it, because that's the last thing we want to do is make things worse for anybody else.
No, and as I said, laws can always be changed. We can say, we tried this, it didn't work, we're now going to try something else. But I think that at this point, this seems to make the most sense. In fact, I went out and measured the street when we were working on this, and it seemed that the Uber drivers stopped at your house for some reason. I don't know why. But they do get very close to the corner, which, as Ann said, is very dangerous, because people making that turn from First Neck onto Culver don't see that there's a car parked right there because of the hedge, and you could have an accident. So we usually have at least the first, how many feet, Chief, from a corner do we usually restrict no parking? Yeah, so I mean, usually that is always restricted anyway. And in this instance, I don't know why Culver was left off of that restriction at the corner. But these people are taking advantage of that fact and parking right up to First Neck Lane. which it seems a little strange to me why they do that.
Yeah, and we've in my car have almost had accidents because they're right there, and then I also have a daughter, and in the stroller there's no sidewalk right going to First Neck, and
Correct.
so you have to be on the street, and so that's been really dangerous for us.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your issue. Okay,
I'm just wondering out loud, could we, because I think if I'm hearing correctly, and Eileen, you may want to just confirm this for me, but while we can't restrict them in a place like this or differentiate a Lyft driver from a regular passenger driver, in a place like the train station, because there is a public interest in allowing maybe livery-type vehicles to be able to get in and out safely and not double park and that sort of thing, we can designate spaces for them,
Well,
sort
we
of
did it.
in reverse.
I don't know what would happen if we were.
Okay. I mean, you can argue that there's a
Correct. I thought we had a
public
good
safety
argument
interest
there.
in
It's
allowing.
adjacent to a parking lot.
Could we try to designate, as Bill suggested, the last sort of 3 or 4 spaces of diagonal parking on First Neck Lane as lift only, and maybe encourage residents to park their cars in the spaces on Culver or something to take them
But I don't
up
think
and-
there's any, it's not like there's no space for them to park there. They just don't go there, right? Or no?
no, every time I would drive by, all of the diagonal places seemed to be open, and they all were parked on Culver, which makes no sense to me. I don't understand why you wouldn't park in a designated spot right across the street. That seems like a logical place to wait.
And I've asked them many times, and
Yeah.
they every time they reply, I don't see any signs. What I'm doing is not illegal, and they're absolutely right.
Because they can take the right south on Pond Lane, they can go in any one of 3 directions in the village when they get down to Windmill Lane. It's not maybe for algorithm reasons, but also just from a traffic standpoint, it gives them a lot of access to Cooper's Beach, to Dune Church, or circling back around to go Hill Street West. It's a pretty convenient place from a logistics standpoint.
They're all trying to
unfortunately.
optimize. They're here to make as much money as possible, and that's the optimal place for them to be. And then they're also flipping U-turns on Culver, which is
Which
obviously
is not good either.
very dangerous as
Yeah.
well.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank you all.
Cameron.
May I ask a question?
Oh, please come forward.
This is not what I came to speak about.
No, but we'd like to hear you.
Did you say that you can't have a permit for residents on that street?
On any street.
Excuse me?
On any street.
Is that a state law or?
There's so much state law on it, yes. So 1604 authorizes us grants us the police power. So there's no police power for that in there, like there is for the truck routes that you were referring to, et cetera. And there's plenty, a lot of municipalities have tried this, and there's plenty of law.
I'm mentioning it because I visit LA a lot, and one of my friends lives near a movie theater. And when I visit her, you have to get a parking card to put on your dashboard
Right.
that shows that I'm visiting somebody, and she has it on her car. Couldn't
Correct.
you do something like that?
We would need state legislation.
We'd have to get
And I
Albany
have-
to
Yeah, there's just,
write a law that village is allowed
Yeah.
to do that.
so,
Yeah.
so yes, I was saying.
California
I
has
was-
a different law. I mean, I know they
No,
have it
no,
in
but
San
even in-
Francisco. I know they have it in Boston, Massachusetts. They have it in Washington D.C.
There's probably
but we cannot do it here unless we get the state legislature and the governor to sign a law saying Southampton can do this.
Right, and there are a lot of laws in New York allowing it. I know Albany, Binghamton, New York City.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, oh yeah, all the, tons of places have it, but they have state legislation, and it's usually, a city, so.
But that's a good question. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else like to be heard on this topic? Sage? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, well, I would like to make a motion to close this public hearing on Chapter 110-43, Vehicles and Traffic.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next one is the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, application for the 2026 program year. We have 2 people who could not be present, but that sent in requests of the village. One is the Southampton Daycare Center, and the other is the Heart of the Hamptons. They seem to be the 2 organizations that apply every year. And so at this time, I'll make a motion to open this public hearing.
Second.
Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would anyone like to speak on this about the community block grant and possible recipients of the block grant?
I listened to both these organizations last year. Their stories are compelling. The work these organizations do are fantastic for the community and especially for the people they serve. And I'm also a friend of Sue Hovdesen in particular, and the work that they go through at the daycare center, not just to provide the service, but to adjust sometimes to 11 kids in a day and sometimes to 28 kids on a day with no notice, provides a huge benefit to a large number of working families here in the village. So I have nothing but good things to say in support of both of these.
Thank you, Trustee Coburn. Anyone in the public else like to speak? Sage, is there anyone on Zoom? Okay, well, with that, I think we can actually close this public hearing related to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for the 2026 program year, and we will look at this going forward. I make a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Now we go to the correspondence to the board, and Scott, we have 15 letters, it looks like, that came
Yes,
in.
we did. Correspondence from Alyssa Lefkowitz. Would like to thank the mayor and the chief for restoring the neighborhood environment. She lives at the corner of Lee Avenue, Ox Pasture, and notes the noise and air pollution. She requests permanent no left turn restrictions on Lee and Captain's Neck. We have correspondence from Jeffrey and Julie Loria. Live at the bottom of Lee Avenue and Ox Pasture. Request no left turns from 3 to 7 p.m. at the top of Lee Avenue and Hill Street. Hour travel time returning from village. Traffic on Ox Pasture, Lee Avenue, Captain's Neck. Suggests signs on Lee and Captain's Necks. Correspondence from Tori Birch, who wants to thank the board for the pilot program and reprieve from traffic. Requests permanent turn restrictions. Feels that the County Road 39 program rollout, along with turn restrictions, delivers a solution of return safety that will return safety and serenity to our streets. Correspondence from David and Betsy Gordon, who wish to thank the board for the traffic solutions. They live on the corner of Lee and Hill. Request permanent turn restrictions off Lee Avenue. Requests additional turn restrictions south of Hill Street. Feels that County Road 39 program rollout, along with turn restrictions, delivers a solution to return safety and peace to the village. Correspondence from Mai Hallenby. Thank you to the board for the pilot program. Lives on Lee Avenue. Notes the exhaust pollution. Request no left turns from 3 to 7 p.m. and traffic cameras at the end of the street. Feels signage is important. Personally went out to stop the traffic and make a turn onto Lee Avenue because they had not seen the signs. Correspondence from Jeff Molesky and Steve Markov. Thank you to the mayor and the chief for the pilot program. Supports the County Road 39 program implementation. Requests permanent left turn restrictions on Lee Avenue. Correspondence from the legal family. Thank you to the board for the pilot program. A resident of Lee Avenue notes the smell, noise, and hazardous traffic from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Requests no left turns on Hill Street. Correspondence from Susan and Philip Warner. Thank you to the board for the pilot program and reprieve from traffic. Requests no left turn off Lee at rush hour to be permanent. Feels the County Road 39 program rollout, along with turn restrictions, delivers a solution to return safety and serenity to our streets. Correspondence from Jessica and John Mezzacampa. Thank you to the board for the pilot program. Request no left turn from Lee or Captains become permanent. Feels that County Road 39 program will make a change. The correspondence from Susan and Philip Warner. Thank you to the board for the pilot program and reprieve from traffic. Request no left turn on Lee at rush hour. Correspondence from Eduardo and Esther Gaffron. Thank you to the board for the pilot program and street safety. Residents and the residents of Lee Avenue request permanent left turn restrictions. Correspondence from the McConaughey family. Thank you to the board for no left turns off Lee, the trial, and request to be made permanent. Once same treatment as residents north of Hill, or will restrictions be removed? Correspondence from Lauren Santo Domingo. Thank you to the board for support in traffic issues. Requests turn restrictions during rush hour on Lee Avenue. Wants same consideration as streets north of Highway. Correspondence from Ronald and Deborah Rustow. Thank you to the board for pilot program and reprieve from traffic. Request it be made permanent. Feels County Road 39 program rollout, along with turn restrictions, delivers a solution to return and safety and serenity to our streets. And correspondence from Cornelia Erklantz. Thank you to the board for the Lee Avenue pilot and reprieve from traffic. Request permanent turn restrictions on Lee and Captains from Monday to Friday, 3 to 8 p.m. Feels the County Road 39 program rollout, along with turn restrictions, delivers a solution to return safety and serenity to our streets. And that's all of it.
Thank you. So I would just add that we have been in contact with our traffic consultant at VHB, Ryan Winter, as well as Pat Lanahan, who have spoken here before. They have been continually gathering information from the various cameras and devices that they had out both north and south of Hill Street during our pilot program, as well as a week after the pilot program ended, so that they could see the result with nothing in place. They are still crunching those numbers, so they are not here tonight to give a report, but they will have it for the work session, which is scheduled for the 21st of this month. But they said at this point they would have just said more of the same, but they really want to give us the specific numbers, and they are still evaluating those in their offices at VHB. So I did want to just give everyone an update on that. But at this time, I will open the floor up for public comment. Anyone that would like to speak on any topic, ma'am, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Sharon Jenner. I live in the middle of the block on Lee, and I actually came here hoping that we'd have some information from the pilot program. So thank you very much for explaining it.
Yeah.
And all of us on Lee and Ox really appreciate what you guys are doing and the chief trying to get this thing resolved. I'm here on behalf of some of the people that aren't here anymore for the season, and we just want to keep the momentum going. We really feel that the pilot on what's happening on Route 39 is going to help tremendously, but we really need some concrete solutions. We feel that Lee Avenue is the furthest point west, and so we are still, even off-season, we are still getting an incredible amount of traffic. Even today, I was coming from the library at 5:20. Hill was totally backed up. I made that right turn. I get it that people are frustrated. I was sitting there for maybe 12 minutes until I finally turned left on Halsey Neck. When I came here, the traffic, I couldn't get out of my driveway again. I'm in the middle of the block on Lee, totally backed up. Ox pasture, steady stream of cars. And I looked down every other street. I looked down Captain's, no cars. I looked down Halsey, no cars. I saw a huge lineup of cars on First Neck, because clearly that's where they're coming, and then they go to Ox. So I'm going to read a little bit just because there's so much to say here, but we all still feel that the left turn restriction is really, really necessary. Trustee Zananti said that the pilot, the rollout on 39 should help it. We really hope so. I mean, if that solves the problem, fantastic. But if it doesn't, we all are really in favor of this no left turn on Lee and on Captain's. The situation is just untenable for us all year round, and I'm a year-round resident, and I see it. Here it is in the middle of the week, no issue, and we're facing this. So we're very anxious to see what the result is of the 39 change, but we feel very, very strongly that the no left turn on Lee is very, very important. So I just, again, thank you for working with Albany and whoever you had to work with to get this done. When is the rollout on 39 going to happen?
It'll be probably within the next few months. We have to coordinate with the town and the county to do the restriping and setting the signals sequencing correctly. That'll take a little bit of time, but hopefully, by the holidays, we will be starting, as the chief likes to call it, muscle memory, so that people will know that that's the way to go and no other way is better.
That would be great. And anyway, thank you for the leadership and your continued support on helping us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Can I just ask on that topic? When
Thank
I've had
you,
a
Sharon.
couple people ask me, does the county need to do enabling legislation to make that extended or additional program happen? Do you know? Is that-
My information is no, they do not. It's a policy decision that they
Okay.
can make with respect to the restriping and the signal sequencing.
People were offering to write in support in case there was
Thank
a
you.
need for legislation.
And the letters that we asked to be sent to the Commissioner of Public Works were very effective.
Good.
And he answered them. So that's how a number of people found out that the pilot was approved
Great.
outside of our traffic committee. It's amazing. It really worked.
Great.
You hear that? The letters work. Anyone else like to speak? Sir?
Hi, my name is Joe Rosengarten, and I've been up here before. And the way we're dealing with the traffic problem, turning one way or turning another way, is not going to solve the traffic problem. The traffic problem is you have too many cars on the road, pure and simple. And I think what Roy said, it's illegal to mandate multiple people in a car. So that means you can't make shared usage. However, there's other legalities. One is CEQA, and one is code. This board has the ability to change code, building code. Now, I've been a builder for over 50 years. I've built 4 or 5 homes in the village and Sag Harbor. So it may be strange that I would suggest this, but I suggest that there be not a mandate, a code requiring for every building permit a traffic plan. Very simple. You would be able to not demand car sharing, but you would end up provoking car sharing. When I see 20 cars in a row, and 17 of them are with one passenger, I'm asking the question, can you make that type of code change? Requiring on a permit. There were 6,000 permits issued in Southampton, all the Hamptons, this past year. Everybody who's going to make a permit is making a profit. I used to be in the business of making a profit. It's going to do 2 things. It'll make it easier for the developer, the contractor, whoever, right, to please his people. Because now you give him a law or whatever, code, that requires him to say to his people, you got to drive together. He can't do that without you, right? Because it's against the law. So the question is, can a permit have this type of restriction on it? It's not even a restriction. It's strictly them having to give you a traffic plan. Now, we would have to work out the balance of that on how that would work, right? Because some people say, okay, I need 3 cars on the lot.
I just want to ask you to wrap up quickly if you can.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made my point. I'll make it elsewhere, but I would like an idea whether or not you can do that.
Yeah, I believe we're able to work with the building inspector to try and come up with traffic plans on properties. I do believe we have the ability to do that. Eileen, do you want to speak about
Well,
that?
I'm not sure we could do what you were suggesting, which is
What is that?
mandate them to drive 3
No,
or...
there's no mandation. You're not mandating anybody.
Okay, you can't withhold something somebody's otherwise entitled to, like a
is it
building
entitled?
permit. You're entitled to a building permit if you otherwise meet the code. You can't put onerous restrictions on it. It'd be the same thing
Do you
as
think that's an
mandating.
onerous restriction to make sure that
Yes.
they put in Traffic
Well, a
plan?
traffic plan, I mean, I don't know what you mean by a traffic plan,
Traffic
but,
plan would be having 3 cars, a maximum of 3 cars on the lot.
Oh, on the
Sort of
lot.
like a parking
yeah,
plan.
we probably could do that.
Yeah, I
Something
believe
like
we have the ability to do that,
Okay,
yes.
so.
I thought you meant you could only have a certain number of people in the car.
No,
No, that would be, that would be
It would be
mandated, but they
trying to
would have
restrict
do
the
that.
number of vehicles that could be at a job site. I
I'm
guess.
not sure how
Yeah.
much that's going to help, but yeah.
Rob, do you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
Nope, so I just.
All right, no, thank you very much, sir. You know what, we can certainly speak to the building inspector about that. I believe they've done it in some other communities, so we can speak to him about how we might be able to look at doing something like that here.
And by the way, with regard to the Uber,
Oh, yes.
I don't understand. Uber's a business. It's a commercial business. Whether it's 1 car or 100 cars. It didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right.
And now they're coming and affecting us. Not me personally, but us. That's something that, again, could you issue a permit?
Licensing requirement, yeah.
A permit, just a permit. They have to have a permit. To get that permit, they have to agree to certain things. And I mean, come on, you've got cars that are clogging up people's homes,
Mm-hmm.
and you have lots that are empty. You can't control them.
The other side of that is you don't want to make it so that nobody will provide services.
They're in the business of making money. I don't care where they're coming from. They can't sit around and have barbecues on that person as opposed to going to where we tell them.
What I would ask at this point, because we've gone well over it, you can, please give us suggestions to me, and I'll make sure the entire board gets them. Or written suggestions, I'm sure they'd be happy to read.
But thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Did the young man who came along with you, you wish to say anything too?
He wants to learn a lot.
We're glad you're here. Thank you. Sir, did you want to say something again? Yeah.
Yes, this is why I came. Again, thank you, everybody, council. David Cardali, year-round resident with my family. I've spoken to a few board members. Just touching quickly on what he said, I have heard that on permits, some towns are trying to issue permits based on the lot size or the frontage of the street, and that's how many cars you're allowed to have there. So that if zoning enforcement or an inspector comes by and there's 20 cars, but that lot only allows 4 cars, then fines could be issued. To my understanding, that's legal.
For part, were you talking about during construction?
Yeah,
or?
for construction
Oh.
cars,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know they put
That's
on
probably-
the police
that's probably
signs,
allowed.
but
I have to
that's-
look at
you
it,
were
but-
just kind of going off.
No,
what
no,
you
I
said.
appreciate that, and I'm going to ask council to look into that to see how we could try and control that with the building department.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing you mentioned about the permits, I don't know if, drivers need permits in Southampton, but the points, a little more prepared this time than last time, I think the issue is twofold with the traffic. It's one, it's lowering the number of cars, which we really want to do, and also just preventing the cars from even coming our way. I see it as 2 issues. I think if the number 1 artery through is Hill Street. The traffic apps dump to Hill Street as soon as they pick up congestion on County Road 39. Hopefully that lessens, but they're still going to dump, and they're going to come our way. And people just muscle memory are going to come our way anyway. But if you make Hill Street more difficult for them, local residents I don't believe will care. But I think lowering the speed back to 25, I think is important. It was 25, now it's back up to 30. Doesn't happen, that's not going to affect rush hour, but it just, someone up there might be like, hey, I'll just stay here. We could also put stop signs on Hill Street. To my understanding, and I've learned that traffic apps pick up the stop signs as stop-and-go traffic. Those apps will not dump the traffic, deter it to Hill Street. It'll wait. How long? I don't know. But whatever algorithm, it will affect it. So if you have some stop signs on Hill Street, it'll just read that as other stop-and-go traffic, and it will keep cars up there longer. These are just considerations to think about. The other big one is the speed bumps. I know everyone complains about speed bumps. I mean, speeding everywhere. You put speed bumps, trucks hate speed bumps. Any man with tools in his truck will tell you, I hate speed bumps. They will not speed. It's just another reason to deter them to, hey, stay up on the main highway. Don't come through the village. And again, these items I'm suggesting, it's my belief they're all under, the village board. You guys can do this. What we mentioned before with restricting the traffic. So we have signs at the beginning of Hill Street, restricts the weight. There's one over by First Neck Lane, something about truck traffic. I got
Truck
that
routes,
photo.
yeah.
Right. But it's in the VTL 1640, the paragraphs. I got them here, 5, 10, and 20, that the village can restrict weights.
Yes, we do.
They can, you can say, times, or maybe no, local deliveries you can't restrict. But it's not in the VTL, but I did see that you can possibly, no commercial traffic, 4 to 6 p.m.
I'm not sure about that, but I'll
That,
look.
no, that's not in the VTL, I'm just expanding on the statute.
I don't think we have the authority to expand on that statute,
But
but
it-
I'll look at it.
So,
It's fair enough.
Coming
I'll-
down
I'll
Hill
look.
Street on the way here,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit before this meeting, traffic, all along Hill Street, almost all the way to the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
About every third, fourth car, commercial. You take out the commercial vehicles, you're gonna wipe out a lot of the traffic. So some type of restrictions need, or lower the weight limit. Then, obviously it has to be enforced. But that's clearly, the weight limit is 100%. Am I correct on that? That they can lower the weight limit on commercial trucks?
I don't know about that.
I think,
restrictions?
I think there's a statute on it. I'd have to look. You're asking me, I don't know off the top of my head, but do you know?
Can you
Can we
lower the
lower
weight
it? We have
limit
10,000.
restriction? We have 10,000, which I think is what the state authorizes. I don't know if
That's
we
what
can
I
go
thought.
lower.
Yeah, I don't think we can, but we can look at it. I don't think we can though, but
Okay.
I'll look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would make a big difference. And then just expanding on, again, what we started with, East Hampton they started annual contractors registry where they have to register the vehicles.
Yes, I did see that, yep.
Is that going to, I don't know if that's going to tie into limiting the vehicles per permit or per contractor, of what they're allowed to have on job sites. I don't know if that connects, I'm not sure. But I don't know if there's one for the village. For the
We do
permits.
not have one, no, we do not have one, yeah. And I
Yeah.
know that East Hampton just instituted that over the summer.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think any of these would be helpful.
Mhm.
But just, can the speed limit be lowered? That's the one question I do want to ask. Can it go back to what it was?
The speed limit can be lowered, but it actually was put to 30 to try and get the cars to move out of the village.
Right.
And as you said, when it does become too congested, it slows down on its own. So again, the reason why it was raised to 30 was to, again, keep the traffic moving and flowing and to keep it moving out of the village.
Right,
So that was the reason why it was done. And then, as I said, it's sort of self-limiting when it gets too congested because no one's going to be able to go 30 miles per hour anyway. So I appreciate what you're saying. Years ago, the speed limit was 30. Then it was dropped to 25, and then it went back to 30. So again, we can talk to our traffic engineers again about that, but it was their recommendation that to keep traffic flowing, to exit the village, that it was better to have it set up at 30.
right.
We've done the same thing on long north-south routes in the village. Perhaps you noticed First Neck Lane, South Main Street, those, and actually North Sea Road, when you get beyond Bowdoin Square, those speed limits go up to 30 because, again, we're trying to get people to exit the village, and it was thought that the north-south roads of First Neck and South Main were so long that to again, get people to move more freely, that the speed limit there should be 30.
Right.
Yeah.
As to the no 24-hour no left on Lee, I totally understand the issues they're having.
Mm-hmm.
But at the last meeting, everybody on Halsey was here because
Yep.
all the cars
You're
come
correct.
to Halsey then.
Yeah.
So just
They also-
I just want everybody to know we're going on 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
okay,
They also
okay.
didn't like the light, but we got rid of the light after a week, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you just make Hill Street more, not as easy,
No, I understand what you're
speed
saying.
bump, stop signs.
Yep.
I think it will dissuade a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Because the cars are going to keep coming, regardless of the, no left and no left turns. Right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on this? Oh.
No, not on this.
No, well, okay, on any
Public
topic.
comment.
I'm sorry, it's public comment, but it's open to anybody.
You may be happy to know I'm not going to speak about traffic. Sheila Pfeiffer, 56 Hildreth Street, but I'm here as the chair of the Southampton Village Environment and Sustainability Committee. At your last work session, September 23rd, Lynn Arthur, Executive Director of the Lake Agawam Conservancy, and Tom Varley from the Stony Brook Center for Clean Water Technology shared a presentation about the new developments, both in technology and in financing, that are now available for innovative alternative or low nitrogen septic systems. The statistics for these systems are amazing. Not only will they drastically reduce the flow of nitrogen pollutants into our groundwater and water bodies, but now, through grants from the town, county, and state, most residents can install a new system with no cost. The grants total as much as $60,000 with an additional $10,000 available for low or moderate income households. This is astonishing good news for Southampton Village. As you were shown 2 weeks ago, the biggest contributor to nitrogen pollution is wastewater from on-site septic systems, and most of the village is part of the flow stream that adds to this pollution. Now, with the establishment of these grants, everyone will be able to replace their systems. The Environment and Sustainability Committee is partnering with the Conservancy and the Center for Clean Water Technology from Stony Brook in making sure that residents not only know about this opportunity, but also have assistance and support to apply and receive the grant money. We are grateful to the board for endorsing this Southampton Village residential septic replacement system. Our committee, in conjunction with the village, will sponsor an information session about septic replacement on Saturday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Southampton Cultural Center. Stony Brook Center for Clean Water Technology and others will present much of the same information that you have already heard, and people will be able to sign up for assistance in getting the grants to make replacement cost-free for most people. Once again, we thank you for supporting this Southampton Village residential septic replacement system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila.
That's it.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Very
Sheila.
much appreciated. Anyone else like to speak? Sage, you just walked out of the room, but I wanted to know if there was anyone on Zoom.
I think there is.
Is there? Okay. Sage?
I'll just take a moment to say, and just to underscore, if anyone's watching or watching this on tape afterwards, what Sheila said is very important. I know some people think my system's working fine and all of that. You can not only have, in almost every case, and really every case that I'm aware of, all of your costs paid for. That includes the reestablishment of existing landscaping. So if you can find a 1 to 2 week window where you're either off-site or okay with someone coming in to tear up your yard, you can basically have it done and come back with a reseeded or resod lawn and not know what ever happened. So it's a really big benefit for the environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
everyone.
Sage, I see we have someone joining us by Zoom.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Please state your name, please, and your address. Can you
Hi
hear
there.
us? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Hi, this is Jeff Molesky from 121 Lee Avenue. Great seeing you all, even though via Zoom. First of all, I just want to say thank you again for the recent pilot, which I'm sure you're hearing a lot of great support from the neighborhood. It truly did restore such a sense of safety and normalcy to those of us on Lee Avenue and Ox that has been missing for a number of years. You know, as Sharon mentioned, the problem unfortunately is continuing nightly on the street post-pilot. So a solution paired with the other solutions, the great success like with the CR39 rollout is just, we want to underscore, drastically needed, and we know the VHB is reviewing the data. We're very eager to hear that. And we urge you to implement these turn restrictions permanently. And as optimistic as we think the permanent rollout of CR39, the pilot will be in terms of help easing the overall traffic coming in to the village. As everyone here knows, Lee Avenue, and you know, I guess that would be the western part of Ox, remains in a unique position. They are the furthest point west feeding Hill Street, and even with the improvements elsewhere, it continues to just bear the brunt of the cut-through traffic. Hundreds of cars and trucks from within the village still use it daily just to save a minute or two on their commute from people within the village coming across the village. So we're talking people even, you know, that not just cutting through the village from outside of it, but within Southampton Village. And that's why making this left turn restriction at Lee and Hill permanent is so essential. The good news is that CR39 improvements, along with, I know that the new McGee stoplight, are going to help offset concerns about diversions to other streets, and an issue that will no doubt surface, right, in the VHB report. So we need to move forward, and we know you're looking at this. We're just putting a finer point on it. We're in the off season while traffic is lighter, albeit the traffic on Lee and Ox over there is still heavy, and drivers can begin adapting to the change. As soon as we get this implemented, they can start to learn it well before it really becomes the heavy season next May, and we're not back at it starting over again and just dealing with a parking lot on Lee Avenue. And, you know, as Trustee Stevenson, I know he's not here tonight, but as he has said many times, we must protect the village, and those of us on Lee and Ox wholeheartedly agree. And we would just add, we must also protect the safety and the quality of life of our residents who have endured unsafe and
We're almost at 3
for
minutes.
too long. All right, so with that, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership. And we really appreciate the continued support in making this a permanent solution.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Did Steve want to say anything? He could get 3 minutes too.
No, just hello. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, Sage, is there anyone else on Zoom? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Final chance to speak at public comment. Okay. Then. Oh, you do? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. Hi, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Lefkowitz, and I live at 535 Ox Pasture. I just thought I'd be remiss if I was just listening silently. I just wanted to chime in that I've been watching all of the proceedings. I thank you wholeheartedly for all of your work, implementing the pilot program. It was wonderful while I was going on. And I'm just here to voice my support for the permanent no left turn restrictions like our neighbors north of us have the no right turn restrictions and now enjoy, more safety, more peace and quiet. So I'm just in support of that, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking the time to log on this evening to speak to us.
Okay, thank you. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Sage, anyone else? That's it. Okay. Then we'll move on from public comment, and we'll go on to suggested resolutions.
Okay, number 1, resolve the claims for the warrant dated October 9th, 2025, totaling $165,759.65, warrant number A11, general, $16,093.15, warrant number H5, capital, and $2,002.99, warrant number T10, trust, are audited and approved. I'll make the motion.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Number 2, resolve the reading of the minutes for the September 23rd, 2025 Board of Trustee meeting is dispensed, accepted as filed by the village clerk, ratified, and approved. I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Eileen?
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 62 flood damage prevention of the Village Code of Southampton to comply with state law, and whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on October 9th, 2025, at which time all persons either for or against said amendment were heard, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law is considered an unlisted action under 6 New York Code of Rules and Regs, Part 617.4, the provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA. And whereas the Southampton Village Planning Director prepared a short environmental assessment form, Part 1, with the project information, prepared a short environmental assessment form, Part 2, dated September 29th, 2025, which identified no or small impact may occur, and drafted a short EAF form, Part 3, which recommends there would be no significant adverse impacts on the environment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby assumes lead agency status as there are no other involved agencies and issues a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA as there are no significant negative environmental impacts anticipated by this code amendment, and be it further resolved that local law number 10 of 2025 is hereby adopted. That is your motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I just wanted to ask if you had reviewed all of the documents that Alex Wallach had put together.
I did, and they're ready for your signature.
They're sufficient.
After today,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And I just want to understand, the concern that was expressed in the correspondence from John Bennett's office, you believe is adequately addressed or clarified within the law itself in terms of it defining accessory
Yes,
structure? It's not going to
it's
create a confusion.
It specifically says this definition applies in this code, in Chapter 62, not the rest of the code. So I don't think it's going to cause confusion, but again, if it does,
We can check.
we'll address it for sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 110-43 of the Village Code, Traffic and Vehicles, by updating and amending Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions, and whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on October 9th, 2025, at which time all persons either for or against said amendment were heard, now, therefore, be it resolved that the local law number 11 of 2025 is hereby adopted. So I will make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law is considered a Type 2 action under 6 New York Code of Rules and Regulations, Part 61.7, sorry, I got to put my glasses on. These numbers are getting tough. 617.5 C22 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that no further review under the New York Environmental Conservation Law, Article 8, is necessary. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting on November 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Village Meeting Room at the Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 110 of the Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic, by updating the schedules related to stop intersections 110-37, Schedule F. So I'll make the motion. After a second, we can have a discussion.
Second.
Okay, discussion. So it was brought to my attention that we have a four-way stop at the intersection of Culver and Pond Lane, and that the one on Pond Lane traveling south at Culver is just a yield sign, which actually is not appropriate when the other three have a stop sign. Because the question is, if you were to yield, what are you yielding to? You're yielding to stopped cars. So, again, I discussed this with the chief, who recommended, yes, it should probably be just a four-way stop. So we would be changing the yield sign on Pond Lane at the intersection of Culver from being a yield sign to a stop sign. So does everyone ever understand that?
Yep.
Okay.
As a jogger, I can tell you that there's always a concern because there is no stop sign there, and that was part of my route.
There is a crosswalk there. My only concern would be how many cars can we get through that intersection from the Windmill Light? In other words, we have a potential for backing traffic up into that intersection and creating a block-the-box situation. Would that?
It could happen. I mean, it's.
Please come forward, chief.
Sorry.
It's a valid point. I mean, it could happen, especially in the height of the summer, when we do have the traffic issues. But I'm really hoping that between 39 and that pilot getting going, I'm hoping it won't be an issue. But at the end of the day, it should be a four-way stop sign.
Yeah, it does seem strange that it's a
Yeah.
yield.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, there is no yield in the code. There's nothing in the code for that
Well, someone just
intersection.
put that yield sign
Yeah.
up. So basically, you're not supposed to stop at all there.
Probably the
Only
lift
if you're from
driver.
the other direction.
Probably the lift drivers did it.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so this is putting it on as a public hearing at the November meeting. So I will make the motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves Police Officer Lee Pulliam to attend DARE officer training from November 10 through November 21st, 2025 in Pembroke, New Hampshire. Registration, training, hotel accommodations, meals, and travel expenses are estimated at $1,386. I make a motion.
I'll second. Chief, do you want to just talk about the DARE program a little bit? I know we used to be participants in it, then we sort of held back for a little bit, and now you wanted to reinstitute it.
Well, we've been teaching DARE for a couple of years. I'm just planning ahead because my two officers that currently teach it aren't going to be here forever. And I need to get somebody else certified and into the schools in the event that the two current ones retire. So I'm just
All
planning.
right, and that's really correct. It looks like it's 11 days, and it's costing less than $1,400.
Yeah, you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because he's staying at the barracks and it's $40 a week.
That's good. Wow, hopefully he gets the top bunk. I don't know. All right. With that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Whereas the New York State Department of Transportation CHIPS 2025-2026 apportionment to the Village of Southampton has exceeded the Village's initial projected revenue estimates, and whereas the Village has included road paving projects as part of its adopted budget and requires additional funding to support these infrastructure improvements, now therefore be it resolved. The Village Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendment. Increase revenue account A.3501-State Aid-Consolidated Highway by $40,000. Increase expenditure account A.5112.21-Permanent Improvement-Paving by $40,000. I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees adopts a donation from Moore Charitable Foundation, Inc. to the Southampton Village Police Department in the amount of $5,000 and approves the use of this donation for the purchase of training and operational taser cartridges, and be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees directs the Treasury Department to make the following budget amendment. Increase A 2703, gifts and donations by $5,000. Increase A 3120.2, police equipment by $5,000. I make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, whereas the fire department requested an internal budgetary transfer to sufficiently allocate funding for expenses during the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2025, and whereas such transfer is necessary to ensure that expenditures are properly recorded within the appropriate budgetary accounts, now therefore be it resolved, the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorizes and approves said budget transfer number 375 for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2025, in the amount of $23,000. I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Number 10, resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the refund request received from the Southampton Village Registrar Department pertaining to a beach event refundable deposit fee in the amount of $500 received from Southampton Bath and Tennis Club related to their event held on August 14th, 2025. I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves Our Lady of Guadalupe to host their annual walking event on Friday, December 12, 2025 at 5 p.m. through 6 p.m. at Agawam Park, where they will assemble and proceed to the Basilica of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary. Southampton Village Police Department has been notified of the event. I make a motion.
Second. Chief, we've done this before, yes? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Number 12, resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the Heart of the Hamptons to host their annual Polar Bear Plunge on Saturday, December 13th, 2025 at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Cooper's Beach. Village of Southampton employee services from parks, building maintenance, ambulance, and police departments will be needed from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'll make the motion.
Second, and I would just like to add that whoever makes the motion has to participate. Yeah.
I'll let Ed make the motion then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we do have a couple of walk-ons that came in late in the day. I'm looking for my walk-ons, hold on. Okay, so I'll make a motion to have 2 walk-ons that came late in the day. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Len, you're going to have to go first
Okay.
with this really long one.
Whereas under New York State Village Law Sections 7-712 and 7-718, all village Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals members, including alternate members, are required to complete a total of 4 hours per year of training. And whereas Section 19-5, Section 65-2A1, and Section 116-42 of the Village Code require all members of the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, including alternative members, to complete a total of 4 hours of a year of training. And whereas Section 116-43 of Village Code states that the Village Board shall annually designate such seminars, workshops, or continuing education courses which may be offered within a reasonable distance and which may be helpful to or be of assistance to the Board of Appeals, Planning Board, and/or Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation in carrying out its functions in a timely, fair, and lawful manner. And whereas the New York State Department of State Division of Local Government Services offers training online through their website, https://dos.ny.gov/training assistance, and whereas there are a number of local professional organizations that provide sessions that meet requirements for training, and whereas the local governing body has the discretion to determine whether these programs shall meet the yearly requirements, and whereas the board finds that the availability of a variety of options will improve access and convenience for the volunteer member boards to achieve the requirement while providing a diversity in program areas to improve individual knowledge and experience, and whereas the board finds that there are limited in-person training opportunities for specialized training in historic preservation and subscribes to remote learning for webinars for members, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby pre-authorizes the educational programs for which a certificate will be provided by the following organizations: the New York Conference of Mayors, the Suffolk County Planning Federation, Nassau County Planning Commission, American Planning Association, including the Metro Chapter and Long Island Section, Suffolk County Village Officials Association, Long Island Regional Planning Council, Hofstra University, including the Breslin Center for Real Estate Studies and the Maurice A. Dean School of Law, New York State Department of State Division of Local Government Services, including online webinars, National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, including online webinars, Pace University Land Use Law Center Home Study Zoning School, others as may be pre-approved by the village administrator. That's the motion. I'll make it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Quick discussion. I'm just curious who put together this initial list. Was this from Alex
It was
Wallach?
Alex
or-
Wallach.
Great.
And then it came to our attention at a meeting today that Pace also offered one for zoning, and it was recommended by the chair of the ZBA. So the reason why we walked this on at the last minute was so that that could also be included.
I think this is fantastic. Just speaking as a former ARB member and other former commission and board members up here as well, the Southampton, the Suffolk County Village Officials Association, which has done a lot of the training for the land use boards, frankly, those seminars, a lot of work goes into them. They were hit or miss. And even among the ones that were interesting, they were hit or miss as to their relevance. So this is, I think, a fantastic thing for the land use boards.
So this one's allegedly very good, and it was originally prepared by the Law Center for NYMER, which is our insurance carrier. So I'm sure it is good.
So it came highly recommended.
Thank you.
By Carol Zacharias, as I said, chair of the zoning board. And so that's why we're recommending it.
And it's free.
And it's free, correct. That's a good one. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Finally, resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement with Delandro Andrews Engineering to perform or cause to be performed a single test hole boring at Village Hall, 23 Main Street, and provide a report on the soil conditions as required for Health Department approval for the renovation and addition to Village Hall at a cost not to exceed $850, plus any required fees subject to the approval as to the form of the village attorney. I will make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. With that, we will now turn to comments from board members, and Trustee Coburn gets to go first.
Well, I'm sorry we're missing our colleague Roy Stevenson. I understand he's celebrated a recent birthday, so I hope he's enjoying that somewhere. And next time he's not here, maybe the chief could sit up here to save her some walking time to the podium. Just a couple very quick comments. Just with respect to traffic, I applaud the approach that we've taken, along with a lot of residents. We have been very patient putting the study together, and a lot of data was pulled together, and I'm glad that the consultants are moving swiftly, but also taking their time to do that, because I know we made a commitment, all of us up here, to take as much as we can a data-driven approach to what is a difficult problem. So I'm looking forward to receiving that data. And just given some of the comments tonight, I'd also just remind, and I think the chief would back me up on this, for those who weren't here in late April, early May, the County Road 39 experiment, when it was done as a pilot, really significantly changed traffic on Hill Street and the feeder streets. It was remarkable. And for residents on Lee Avenue, which I agree has had the worst of it, I just wanted to say I went down there the Thursday before the pilot and the Thursday of the pilot. The Thursday before, there was traffic as far as the eye could see, bumper to bumper, waiting to turn. The Thursday afterwards, for the 20 minutes I was there, a total of 4 or 5 cars turned off of Lee Avenue, no more than 2 at a time. So if it works just as well this time, at least temporarily, I think we would all be very happy with those results. 3 just very quick comments. I'm sure others will say this, but I had the pleasure of going to some Southampton Fest events on Saturday and to the reception given by the Rotary Club the night before, and wanted to thank Nancy Kane and all the people who helped put that together, and the Rotary Club and the sponsorship of many people, particularly the Southampton Association, for the event on Friday night, which was very well attended. I was privileged to be part of a session today, an express session event at Union Burger Bar with the mayor and the chief and Janice Sheriff, the town planner, and a number of other people, talking broadly about just the future of the village on several fronts, or challenges and opportunities that face the village. If you have a chance to watch that online, which I think is available through 27east.com or will be, or listen to it, I think it was a good discussion. And Mayor, thank you for your leadership on that. And I just wanted to also say that next Friday, it was alluded to today often during this express session, the Planning Commission, and we've mentioned it tonight, but the Planning Commission will have this discussion of workforce housing, as Bill has said, in this room at 3 p.m. And I think it's a good opportunity for what I think more and more people have recognized. We don't know what the final form will be necessarily. We've got some good ideas already on the table, but clearly sort of a growing awareness that addressing workforce housing in some way is a critical part of not only addressing traffic, but other community needs. So I just wanted to remind the public of that, and otherwise I'll say good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Coburn. Trustee Simeoni.
Sure. The Southampton Cultural Center is an important part of the village, and they provide so many services and programs. And on November 8th from 3 to 5, they're having a family fundraiser, which I encourage everybody to participate and enjoy. It's very important that we do fundraise for the Southampton Cultural Center so they can continue providing the programs that they do. Also, I am a license to the Senior Committee, and there will be a meeting on October 15th at 3 o'clock here at Village Hall. There's also going to be a presentation at that time by the Southampton Police Department on providing information about how to protect seniors from scams. Should be an important discussion, and I invite the public also to participate during that meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Simeoni. And I think we're also going to have seniors register so that in the event of a natural disaster or something, we know where the seniors are located, or if there's a fire in that residence, we would know that, for example, they're on the 2nd floor in a bedroom, maybe they need oxygen. We would have that information recorded so that it would help aid in any sort of rescue that would be necessary. All right, so we'll turn to, usually it's Trustee Stevenson, but it's Trustee Zananti now.
Thank you, Mayor. Traffic. As we met with the county exec and the DPW staff at the county who was in charge of county traffic on the 16th, we got our answer 2 weeks later on the 30th, and Chief and I were at that meeting, and we heard a lot of conversation about long-term solutions. And very interestingly, one of our residents, Jay Fitzpatrick, had submitted an idea, and the mayor asked me to convey it to the Department of Public Works for a long-term solution, and I did, and they were happy to receive it and said they would actually think about what his solution was, which is amazing. My secret dream, as Trustee Coburn mentioned about the effectiveness of that pilot last spring, my secret dream is once it gets underway for the new year, that we can eliminate any left or right-hand turn restrictions that we have in the village, because it should be only village residents passing through our streets and not everybody else. So that's my secret dream. Secondly, the planning board provided final approval last Monday, the 6th, for the cell tower. So now that the land use process is over for that project, the Diamond Communications will start the process of applying for building permits and going through the building department process as a precursor to construction. I am the liaison to the museum, and what's interesting is, having had a terrific renovation job to the exterior, and there are some residual issues that have to be resolved, like shutters, they're continuing to plan for renovation at the Rogers Museum, and they're planning to apply for grants to do interior renovations to provide for rotating exhibits, which will hopefully attract repeat visitors. Also, Halsey House, they did receive a grant, and they will be restoring deteriorating woodwork there. And for Pelletreau House, they did receive a New York State grant for to provide for historic infrastructure report, which will hopefully enable them to apply for grants to repair that building. So a lot of good work is being done by the museum. And lastly, Southampton Fest was terrific. I enjoyed it, every minute of it, and the weather was absolutely perfect. We had an unveiling earlier in the day of the generous donation by Fabian Onetti and his wife Martha McGinnis, and we then kicked off the day and really enjoyed the activities for children as well as for adults. And with that, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. So, again, piggybacking on the work that was done on the Southampton History Museum, we're also undergoing more work on the exterior of Veterans Hall on Pond Lane. As most know, we did put a new slate roof on that building last year. Now they're working on the soffits, the fascia, the trim. It's being repainted. I'm optimistic that it'll be looking really good for a Veterans Day on November 11th. Other than that, we have a lot of projects going on in the village. Down at the south end of Lake Agawam, they are installing a bioswale, and also the Lake Agawam Conservancy is removing the Phragmites, and they're going to be replacing those with native plants. And again, we have permission from the DEC to do this work. They're actually dewatering the Phragmites on the side of the parking lot there. They put up a little barricade, and they're working on that. But it should really look fantastic once that all this work is done. And again, both projects are not being paid by the village. The bioswales are being paid by the town trustees for their parking lot, and the Lake Agawam Conservancy is paying for the remediation of the shore of Lake Agawam there. So those are great projects. What the village did pay for out of some of its parks money is the installation of a new playground at Moses Park. It actually has been installed. It's not open yet because there's still more work to be done there. But I do recommend anybody to go by and look at the new playground that we are going to open when the rest of the park is complete. I think it's really looking very good. We've started some paving projects. We did fill in some of the potholes on Pond Lane this week. Corey from the Highway Department went down there and was working on that for a full day, I believe. But we've also now just started repaving. Armand Street was repaid. Herrick Road by the hospital was repaved. And then all of the Roscoe development is actually going to be repaved later this fall. National Grid, unfortunately, is still working on Hampton Road. This is the project that never ends. But I've been told it's only another 2 weeks, and then we will actually be able to repave it at their expense so that it looks beautiful and really blends in with the eastern part of Hampton Road that was done earlier this year. Other than that, I just went to a couple of things recently. On September 24th, I went to Central Islip, where 2 of our firemen were recommended for a Medal of Valor. They won the runner-up award, and it was Ricky Fowler and Tim Hurley for going into a house where there was an individual who was suffocating in his garage, and they were able to remove him from that garage at that time. Also, I showed up at the beginning of the Hamptons Marathon on September 27th. I think there were something like 2,500 runners in it. It started this year at Agawam Park, and I actually heard from many of the store owners that they thought it was fantastic because they had a lot of business on that Saturday, the 27th. One person who said he was very pleased and had me come and talk to him about it was actually Noonan at Herbert and Rist. He said he couldn't believe they all wanted to have drinks after they finished the marathon. So he did very well as many other businesses. And then, as Rob said, on the 3rd, attended the Rotary Cocktail Party with the Southampton Association joining in this year. And that was a great kickoff to Southampton Fest. I think it was a huge success this year. We heard from a lot of people that they really enjoyed it and that we had really stepped up this year. And so that seems to be something that really is becoming an annual tradition the first weekend in October, and really is something that is putting Southampton on the map, so to speak. We do have a long weekend coming up this weekend. I did look at the weather report, and unfortunately, while it looks like it's starting out very nice, Sunday and Monday is calling for high winds and rain caused by a coastal storm. So I want everyone just to take note of that, and if they have to bring things in to their homes, on Saturday before the storm hits, that would be advisable. But obviously, we're going to continue to monitor this, and we'll be in touch with the police and others if we need to take any action, in the village, and look out for falling tree limbs that could still occur. And other than that, I think that is it for this meeting. We have no executive session, so I will just ask that we make a motion to close this meeting of the Village Board of Trustees, and I'll ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you, Chief, for being here. Thank you.